But I volunteered to public talks to people about NASA in general and also different missions. And I'm joined today by Gillian Millard. Gillian Millard. She's a future astronomer. She is that's what her major, a college student, and she is hopefully a future educator. So she has graciously agreed to sit in with me and help me fill some of the questions. Perfect. We had originally planned on doing a WebEx meeting in which we would have slides and everything, but I think I feel more comfortable just doing a talk and a question and answer session, if that's okay with you guys. We can, So Ms. Millard has put together a fantastic PowerPoint presentation and has links to some really neat videos, and she's agreed to send them to you so you can watch it on your own and enjoy it. We're going to get my situated here for a second. Okay. Right? Right. So I think we're going to do on this day is we're just going to go right around and I cannot see you, but I can hear you. Oh, hey. Well, that's a very good question. And it is very possible that astronauts do get sick in space. I mean, it happens more often than we would imagine. Because they're in a very small space with other people, the bacteria and the things that make us have stomach problems, they reproduce in a different way. They're able to spread a lot quicker. So I think people do get sick pretty often up there. And also the motion sickness. Have you ever been in a bouncy house and just jumping up and down and your stomach gets woozy? I think that probably may happen after all until they get used to being in a microgravity environment. But I know that they have bags that they can be fit into if necessary. Kind of like they do on an airplane. But these bags will be able to seal up airtight so that nothing would get out. Can you imagine if the contents of that bag were to escape? It would float all around the place and get all over everything. That would be horrible. So, but another option is they have in the bathroom they have a suction hose that they could be stick into if they could make it to the bathroom, and that would safely take the product out of their environment.
That would be better, huh?
Yeah, and we're going to ask that too. The astronauts are pretty heavily watched by the people back at NASA headquarters. So their vitals are taken quite often, and they're kept in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
I know of one story where Chris Hadfield, who's a Canadian astronaut, who was doing an EVA, which is activity outside of the International Space Station. There was a little bit of chemical that actually got into his eye while he was out in the middle of space, just connected, not by anything really. He just had his spacesuit that kind of helped him navigate. But a little bit of chemical got into his eye, and his tear duct started to produce tears, as you would whenever you get anything in your eye at any other point. But the water doesn't really go anywhere. It just sort of sticks to the surface of the eye. So he actually lost his sight while he was in the middle of the space navigating by these, little motors on his suit. And he had to stay really, really calm and communicate with the people back on ground to make sure that he didn't panic or freak out or, go flying back down to Earth or anything like that. So they keep a pretty close eye on him to make sure that they don't get hurt or, if they go sick or anything like that, that it's looked out for.
Wow. That's why I am not happy. All right, Katie, what do you think?
That would be so cool. and I hope that you'll become an engineer and invent your idea.
That would be great. We need that, I think.
Yeah.
But, that would be very useful. Now they do have some ideas about how to make it seem like there's gravity. If people are in a spaceship that can spin, it would push them against the edges, and it would make it appear that there's gravity. So you would feel your weight even though there's no gravity. It's called a centrifuge. But so did you know that there is gravity on the space station?
No.
A lot of people don't know that. So they call it a microgravity environment. You know what keeps the Earth orbiting around the sun?
Gotcha. Gravity.
Right. You know what keeps them? The pull of the sun is gravity.
Yeah.
And do you know what keeps the moon orbiting around the Earth? Gravity. So there's gravity in space. It's just the further away you get from something, the less you feel the gravity associated with it. So the people on the International Space Station, for instance, they're very much closer than the moon. So they do have gravity. But the reason that they float around the way that they do is because they're falling. They're going so fast, 17,500 miles per hour around the Earth. Before they can fall, they're on the other side of the Earth. They're falling around the Earth. So Ms. Millard here, she came up with a good analogy for this. Have you ever ridden a roller coaster? Okay, you know when you get to the very top of the highest hill, and then you start to go over the edge, you feel like you're going to fly out of your seat? So you're in free fall at that point. You're not really affected. You don't feel your weight falling to the Earth. You feel like you're floating. Well, the people on the space station are constantly like that, at that very moment where you're falling. They're falling the whole time they're up there, which could be 6 months or a year. So they have to get used to it, and but it's neat because it lets them float around, lets them do EVAs.
Mm-hmm.
They can have work surfaces on the floor, the wall, the ceiling. All that. If they want to work on the ceiling, they just walk onto the wall, and they have no orientation.
We can even simulate this in flight. Like you can feel that when you're on the top of a roller coaster, but there are actually airplanes that will simulate that feeling of weightlessness by creating flights where you go at a really, really steep angle and then you go down at a steep angle, and when you're on the top of that curve, you get that like floating feeling. And it's pretty spooky being in an airplane that's going directly up and then directly down, but it's cool getting to feel that weightlessness in between.
Can anyone guess what they call the nickname for that plane is?
What is it?
It has to do with the first question.
What is the name of that plane?
It's called the Vomit Comet.
Vomit Comet.
There's a lot of people get sick on it. Yeah.
So they would definitely need my cruise idea to improve those buffets.
They do.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent
What about
question.
you guys
Thank you.
down the end of the table? Do we have more questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Back Gage. What can you do if the ship breaks down?
So that's a tough one. So to become an astronaut, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree, a 4-year college degree in science, or an engineering degree or a mathematics degree. So and a lot of the astronauts are flight trained as well. So we have a lot of people with a lot of education, a lot of engineering experience and science experience. So hopefully one of them will be able to come up with a solution to fix it, or the smart people in Houston will be able to come up with something and talk these astronauts into through fixing the spaceship. If they can't fix it, the astronauts can be in a lot of danger. Hopefully they would be able to wait for another spaceship to come help them. But if not, it could mean the end of those astronauts. So they have to be very brave people to agree to go into space.
Absolutely. Federico? Do they have a doctor on the spaceship?
A lot of times they do on the space station, but they have doctors on the ground that are constantly monitoring these astronauts. A big reason that they always have humans in low orbit on the space station is so that they can better understand the reaction of the human body to the difficulties of living in space and all the different things that can go wrong. The reason they want to learn about these things is so that someday we could possibly travel and maybe colonize Mars or other planets. So before we go on a long trip to Mars, and I'm sure they would have a doctor on a Mars trip. They're learning right now.
All right, now I'm curious. You said that they get monitored from Earth. How do they monitor the astronauts in space from Earth?
Oh, that's a great question. Daily they have to exercise. When they're exercising, they have heart monitors. They monitor the respiration. They monitor their temperature while they're sleeping. I think periodically throughout the 24-hour period, they hook themselves up to different sensors. And on the space station, there's a Wi-Fi router. So all the information is sent by a Wi-Fi router, just like you have in your home, to one radio transmitter, and that sends it back to Earth, and then from Earth they send messages back up. It's received by the radio receiver, and then it's converted to Wi-Fi. So they can email, they can go on Facebook, they can do whatever they want up there. So it's very common sense way that they send information back and forth.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, you're up. What kind of questions do you have? What happens if somebody throws up, and will the controls still work?
I'm sorry, you cut out for just a second. Can you repeat that?
I'm so sorry. I have my email up and it's taking left and right. Okay. He's saying if somebody gets sick on the controls, what kind of problems would that cause, and would they still work?
Do you mean like on Earth, the people who are on the controls on Earth?
No,
in space. Well, yeah, I mean, it's usually a pretty small team that's up there, so they need to be able to work in a lot of different kinds of conditions. I think you get some very tough people that'll go up there who can work their way through any kind of stress or struggle that they have. But I think in the event that somebody can't handle whatever their position is, they're all sort of multifaceted and talented people that they can substitute out and try to help each other. And then, worst case scenario, they do have an entire team of people on the ground of mission control who, worst case scenario, if somebody can't do their job, then there is someone on the ground who can tell somebody else up there what to do and kind of fill in for them.
Yeah, and the controls, they're pretty well waterproof and sick-proof.
Oh, you mean like physically?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But they're very careful. There's not a lot of control to the International Space Station. Like I said, it's falling around the planet. And they built it in pieces. There are segments of it that different countries from around the world constructed, and they took them up into space and they attached them like Legos. It's become like a miniature little city up there. But the only control they have over what the International Space Station does is about once a month, due to friction in the atmosphere, it will slow down and start dropping towards the Earth about a mile. So about once a month, they have this chemical that has a lot of energy behind it. It's called hydrazine, and it's an aerosol. They spray it, and it speeds the space station up, and it makes it go to a higher orbital plane. So it's not like in the movies when it's a spaceship that you have to pilot. It's limited control, but everything is pretty waterproof. I think the astronauts are more afraid that stick's going to get on them than the spaceship controls.
Great.
So, great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Sarah's up next.
Sarah? Okay, what's your question, Sarah? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, dear.
That's okay. She said, I'll speak up because I'm right here by the computer. She's asking, if you're sick, can you eat regular food in space? What are their diets like in space?
Well, yeah, so everything that goes into space has to be very carefully calculated. You know, these vessels that they go up in, they calculate every little bit of math that is going to go into it, from the humans themselves to the fuel to any of the food that they're going to bring up there. Oftentimes they'll actually send packages separately, so they'll send a separate vessel up to kind of meet them. But the food it can't be very wet, right? Because any moisture, any water, anything in the food is going to get all over the place, right? And for the sake of kind of optimizing your packaging, you tend to have a dehydrated food that goes up there. Not all the time, but a good amount of it will be like that. But the food itself is what was the question? I started talking about that. I forgot. What was your question again? Was about the different kinds of food that they can eat?
Yeah, they're questioning when they're sick, what kind of food can they eat? I
thought it would be pretty similar.
Or is it formula which you were just describing?
It's like the food on Earth.
Yeah.
So astronauts get to have special care packages that you know, like if they like say someone likes peanut butter, they can get a jar of peanut butter sent up. They can get all different kinds of food. They're dehydrated. They just add a little bit of water. They can have soup. That's probably something that you like to have when you're sick, isn't it? I know I like soup when I'm sick. But they can have soup and crackers. They can have, you know, whatever the traditional food comfort food is that they're accustomed to. They can have that in space. The reason they dehydrate them also is, besides for cleanliness, is so that it preserves it it makes it last longer, and also the water weighs a lot. So the more water you send into space, the more fuel you have to burn. The more fuel you have to burn, the more weight you have. You need more fuel for that extra weight. So it's a circle. You know, so they try to minimize weight. Human beings take a lot of water every day, so they recycle every bit of water that is on the space station. I know this sounds gross, but if you sweat, it goes into the air, it gets picked up by the climate control system, goes into the water filtration system, is treated in many different ways, and then comes out as drinking water. Anything, so think about it, absolutely any and all liquid turns into water. So I did an internship at Marshall Space Flight Center, and I got to see this machine, and they put some dirty water into it and cleaned it, and I drank it. It was fun. It tasted a little bit like iodine, but other than that, it was fun.
And if you get a chance to watch some of the videos that are on the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to send you, there is actually a video of them. There's a woman who's washing her hair, and she talks about that in it, where the water in her hair, even she tries to dry it off and take care of it, but the water kind of just goes all over the place while she's doing that, and that water gets recycled, and they'll reuse it later.
So that's one of the biggest challenges of going to another planet, is taking all the water that human beings would need. So that's why NASA is very interested in the fact that they've found water on the Moon, and they've found water on Mars. So it's a lot easier to launch water off of the Moon than it is from Earth. And it's very nice that we already have some on Mars. But water's a big deal, as is food. That's a good question.
All right, who's up? Okay, Alicia, go ahead.
My question is, what if they made the suction of the toilet too powerful?
There could be a good column and a bad column for that, I guess. You have anything?
That would not be good, I bet. I bet that would be pretty unfortunate. I think they've had a number of years to perfect it, but I'm sure sometimes there may be like a little calculation off of the the power of it. There's another video in that slideshow that you'll get to see where they talk about the actual function of it and how it works. And they have two different hoses that are supposed to be used for two different.
They have a number 2 hose. And a number 1 hose. The number 1 hose is yellow. It's color-coded.
Yeah, it's color-coded.
So you have to use both of those things. You kind of sit on the number 2 hose.
Moving on. You're up. Okay, so if they're outside doing a walk or something, you say, what if you get sick outside in your helmet?
That's bad.
Yeah.
So you know that there's no air to breathe outside, so you can't take your helmet off. Fortunately, there's a climate control system in the suit. I think it would help, but it's different than the one inside of the space station that recycles water. I think you would have a mess in your hands that it'll be difficult to get back. So I think that astronauts have access to Dramamine, which is a medicine they take to help them get sick in a situation.
Yeah, and it's like I said at the beginning, there was that one astronaut that had the issue with his eye tearing up. It's not like you can take your arm back inside and kind of rub it, and you can't clean it up. You're stuck there until you can get back into the ship. And oftentimes they might be out there with a buddy, but the EVA suits, they used to be, and sometimes they'll still do it where they'll attach them by a piece of rope or something like that. But oftentimes the EVA suits are, it's essentially like a little jetpack that they're on where they can maneuver around by themselves. If you're out there in the quote-unquote water, it would be pretty hard to have all that stuff floating around in your face. Probably wouldn't smell very good. It would not be pleasant.
No. Okay. And last but not least.
Hello.
What's your name? Nathan?
What happens if someone shows up and the bus bag isn't available?
Just like any other liquid, depending on where you are, regardless, it's going to float and be free in space somewhere, either inside your suit, inside the International Space Station, wherever you're at. That liquid is going to go where it wants to go.
Yeah, it's going to go, and it's going to go forward until it hits something, and then it's going to change directions and come back.
Yes. And it's hard. I think another good thing to think about is how you actually clean that up. Because, obviously when you're on Earth, you can just take a piece of a towel or something and wipe it up. And the idea is kind of the same when you're in space, but in that microgravity, it's not stuck to a table or to a floor or, in a bowl or anything like that. It's just everywhere. So you're having to sort of chase the mess, which we definitely, I wouldn't want to have to do that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who all wants to be an astronaut in this group?
You ever get claustrophobic?
Oh.
That's one of the reasons I'm not trying to sign up to be up in space. That's tight quarters. That's very tight quarters.
So they have a lot of training to deal with living in this small environment, but I'm sure they do. It's a very long time to be in a small area. I bet that they do get claustrophobic from time to time. But there's an observation window where they can lay in this area, and it's a big round window that looks down at the Earth. So that's a big view. I bet it kind of helps them not feel as cooped up.
Okay. What's the longest time an astronaut has been in space for?
That's a good question.
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. Yeah, that was just recently too. They did it was a really cool experiment that they did. It was a pair of brothers, twins, where one of them stayed on Earth and one actually went up and lived on the International Space Station for about a year. And when they came back, they compared their bodies and how they felt after that time apart to see what effects the body has in that microgravity environment. It's a really cool experiment that they did. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
I heard about it. Yeah, my dad.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it was
Just one copy.
So,
One was 50, one was 20.
I didn't hear that.
Okay. Federico?
What? Do they do some muscle strength if they like a
Okay, so did you hear that?
Part of it.
He's asking if you get the flu in space or chickenpox or anything like that, do they lose muscle strength? But I would think it would be the same as on Earth.
Yeah, I don't think being sick has as much to do. They keep these astronauts pretty healthy, but very healthy. But you bring up a very good point about losing muscle strength. Since you don't have to sit up and stand up and walk around, you're just floating for months at a time. You do lose muscle mass. So it's called muscle atrophy. So the astronauts they have ways of exercising in space. They tether them down to a treadmill and let them run, and they have resistance weight training so they can keep their muscles strong so they can readjust when they get back to Earth easier. They also there's also a problem with bone density. Your bones actually weaken when you're in space for a long time, and that's another thing they're researching because they're afraid that when people take a long trip to say Mars or further, that they may have weakened bones by that point.
And another good point too is of getting sick in space. If you think about how you might get sick on Earth, it's exposure to different types of germs, and your exposure in space would probably not be quite as diverse as your exposure here, walking around and going to school and playing with other kids or something like that. You probably wouldn't get sick as often and by as many diverse illnesses or anything like that for sure.
The United States has a crew of 6, so if you get chickenpox, you need to talk to the other 5 people.
Yeah.
All right. What do we say, guys?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
That was
pleasure.
very helpful. Thank you so much for dialing in to us, and I look forward to seeing the PowerPoint.
We'll send it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, they're all waiting. Okay, bye. Yeah. Woo. Okay. All right.
Well, actually, I have one student online, and then I talked to her. She has a question.
Oh, yeah.
That was very cute.
That was fun. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's... Would you mind sending me your PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Get her.
Actually, oh, she might have left.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, but since I'm recording this, I do want to show the videos. So I have the PowerPoint loaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then just go back into it.
So when I said it was originally a Google document, so when I said it's PowerPoint, it just makes them into links. They're not embedded anymore.
Yeah, that's what I noticed because I accidentally clicked on one.
Yeah. Did you want me to maybe send you the link to the...
Can you do it as a Google?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This here is a link. So that comes up as a link.
They all do.
Oh, they all do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I started one, so I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at the beginning. So every single image is a video?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's not video, but
Okay.
this is the one that said "but first" is not a video.
Okay. Well, I was kind of cycling through the images and trying to line them up with.
Would you like me to send you those?
Yeah, she can send it to you. Can you put it in there as a Google?
Yeah. What email? Oh, I type in your email.
Oh, yeah, it's Eula Hayes. Let's see, where is it? Oh,
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, right there.
and then where's the app thing?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Julia, I've never messed up your name in my life.
I know. To be fair, though, there are, debatable pronunciations, so I'll give it to you.
Okay, yeah, I think this one's loading.
December of 1972, 3 astronauts blasted off
Yeah, that's the first
last
one.
Apollo mission.
Yeah, I think this is
Along the way,
it's not cut.
Hers are
Oh, the
edited.
one,
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to, can you just post her Google thing into there?
Yeah, we're not edited for it.
okay, so these are edited?
Yeah, they
Oh,
were.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me go.
Great video, though, worth watching.
Today, 4 decades later,
Okay, so they're going to be in an email?
Mm-hmm, yeah, I just emailed them.
Okay,
It's
so
the
wait,
link.
Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording. Well, I mean, I can, okay, well,
It's fine.
later when I put it on
You'll edit.
YouTube, I can edit it.
There we go.
So,
Good that you can fill the time with some
because I
educational.
was thinking, well, whoever goes into quarantine because they get chicken pox, they're just going to go into that Soyuz mold with the whole one.
It has the vodka in it, too.
Oh, well, that pretty much kills
Yeah.
everything. I just go to my email. No, that's the one.
The Russian part of the International Space Station is the only thing that's not owned jointly.
Mhm.
The Russians maintain ownership of it, and it's the only place where they have alcohol.
Well, I mean, Russians are born like with the vodka gene.
Yeah, it's a right.
They can't, no, they can't go without vodka. Okay. Go to, I think one student that was in there has left.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Did you send that to?
I did
Okay,
send it
thanks.
over, yeah.
Thanks, Gil.
Yeah.
I'll be, I'll put it in there.
Okay.
You're paid? No.
Yes, that's me.
What is your north?
Oh, it's my
Oh,
personal email, so it's
okay.
I shortened.
What's her middle name?
Yeah. I should probably go with my official school email instead.
Open, open and slide?
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I think I'm still sharing the screen. No. Okay, maybe I have to click here. In order for this to work, yeah. Happening.
Oh, cool.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I don't force the issue. Oh, here we go.
Did you want this?
Oh, it's good, yeah.
I mean, this is just.
Yeah, I think
this
that-
stuff already, but,
That's awesome. Okay, I want to get rid of this stupid thing. Oh, I think I have to go somewhere. Oh, man. Okay, let me just, because I figured out a way, this web is so obscure. I like the, options there. I like the other, the one that we had before much better. I mean, this, with the video, I have to like hunt and search through all the menus.
you know what, I've never used it. I've got to learn how to use this stuff.
Ah, wait for the updates.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be.
I mean, I've been on the other end of it. I never had the football.
I just try to, record, and I don't think I can handle multiple breakout rooms or something. It's kind of horror.
Gosh,
Let's see, now, okay, so that should be the,
so now it should be the cut version that you're able to view. Yeah, so this is the sort of set up time lapse of the International Space Station.
oh, and the player,
Yeah. So you're seeing the multiple sunrises and sunsets in that shot.
it takes 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they see, I think it's like 16 sunsets and 16 sunrises every day. It's a pretty good work day, honestly.
I used to have a Facebook friend who was on the space station. I got really cool Aurora pictures from it.
That is very cool.
Oh, you're still my friend, just on the space station.
Is that a video too?
No, that is a picture. That one could be a picture. There's a couple pictures in there, and then...
I'm sorry, I said the wrong videos earlier. I messed up.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Exactly.
It's still recording. The audio to back. And then one of those was a video, right?
Yeah. So if you keep going down, so those are pictures, yeah.
The next slide.
Yeah, to the next slide.
Oh,
Yeah. So, here, do you mind if I...
oh, sure, yeah.
So this was talking about gravity on the moon, so we get that kind of...
I remember that.
Yeah.
Should have moon videos.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they found the best way to get around on the moon was to skip.
Yeah, to kind of get that momentum going as you're moving forward.
Just play that again.
Yeah, I think I'll do some ads.
Yeah. Well, they really top heavy.
Yeah, well, they've never been out there before.
Yeah,
and a lot of trial and error.
That climate control pack was made in the 1960s, so it's...
And once that's down,
it's
like a bug. But it can go like this, and then you have that pack.
And the EVA suit has like miles of tubing in it.
Yeah.
The coolant.
Yeah.
I'm going down. Maybe you could push himself out.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, because it's that same problem of you're not having to work quite as hard to, move yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would they actually practice this?
Well, they do a lot of stuff underwater.
Yeah, they still are the same.
No, it's not. It's certainly not.
Especially the shuttling thing, because, it's not like they have water resistance when they walk around.
No.
I'm sure the people in mission control, they were like holding their breath. And then, oh my God, I hope there's no puncture and they fall.
Gosh.
Everything gets messed up, and there's no audio with them. Was that like what they were saying?
Because this was the world's first video.
Yeah, because I don't think they were getting best live footage.
I mean,
mission control. I'm sure they were, but
the footage we had on Earth looking through telescopes with the film cameras had to be developed.
Every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. Feel a little different in different gravities.
Yeah.
So one thing from this presentation from Gillian's presentation is I thought was a neat point is that when you leave the Earth's gravity, you have to adjust. Imagine, then if we go to the moon to get water before we go to Mars, we have to get used to the gravity increasing as we got closer to the moon and landed on it. And then when we blast up from the moon, we have to get used to Mars's gravity. I mean, that would be very...
Well, what I've heard since I've been to DragonCon, and they had a space track there, and they were talking about it. They were thinking of just having a space station in orbit around the moon. So people who are en route to Mars, they wouldn't actually go down to the moon.
Right.
So there would be another crew down there or robots who would gather the water and then send it up to the space station that is orbiting the moon, to save on expenses. Exactly, because, whenever you land in a gravity well and then, like you said earlier with the water and everything, every little gram counts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they wouldn't actually have them go down to the moon.
Yeah, I used to think that the space elevator was a ludicrous idea, but I saw an actual possible physical model of it. They would have.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
They'd have a transport. They would have a satellite at one of the moon's Lagrangian points, and so material would be rocketed from the moon to this point, and then there will be. I'll have to get you the paper. It worked.
Was there another video?
There's some videos of like the astronauts actually on the space station. With all the different food, which the kid had asked about. Food on Mars or on the space station. This is them making pizzas.
So I was willing to give a talk first. I guess you misunderstood me. We'll just give a talk and then answer questions. Answer the question. Like, all right. But that worked well.
Yeah, I think kids are more into asking questions and interaction.
Yeah.
They must have a nice sticky sauce. Give it faster.
Hey, he's Italian.
I think the last time that they presented this, they asked a really good question about how they heat the pizzas up, too. It's interesting watching them try to figure out how they might cook the food. Yeah, exactly.
Or add hot water to it.
Yeah.
Well, how about like just a heat lamp or something like that?
I think that was what we looked into. I can't remember exactly how they would heat those specific.
You want a little bit of a crunch, caramelization going on. You like the Euros. They just have.
Exactly.
They're the Greek people in the space.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a couple of videos. I don't know if you want to look at all of them, but there's this one will actually have sound. If I can. Is it picking up sound from your computer?
Maybe. I think it's picking up the sound from this. But,
that's okay. We can pretend to be Anita Williams. So I think this is the sleeping quarters that they're talking about here.
Yeah.
Which you talked about when one of the kids was asking about like the workstations or something.
It says about being claustrophobic.
Yes, the claustrophobic. Yeah, they have. It kind of depends on all of how you look around the station is either your workspace or your sleep space. So you can just go up to the ceiling or the floor. It doesn't really matter which way. But they have these little cubbies on the.
There's 4 of them.
Yeah. And they're just these little rectangular cubbies that they sneak into. And show them. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I would be way too claustrophobic.
Yeah, I'm definitely claustrophobic.
Yeah. So there's one on the wall, each of the walls and the ceiling and the floor. They're down there.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a little privacy. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
They have a bag down there they sleep in.
Yeah, it like tucks them into a little sleeping bag and keeps them from floating around. But they have their computer in there and personal effects and there's that sleeping bag. So
you have to sleep in a bag because a blanket would just float away.
Yeah.
So they have a sensation of being.
I think they strap themselves in with bungee cords so that they know what's down.
But she's just turning around and saying it doesn't really matter. There is no up or down or upside down or right side up.
Yeah, I've heard one astronaut that, sometimes at night you feel like you need to roll over and switch directions. He just strapped the pillow to the other side of his head.
Yeah, that has to be a weird trick on your brain. You have to all of a sudden just trick it into thinking that you're over on the other side of your body.
And they have these footholds there.
I think a lot of the workstations, they just kind of hook their feet into those little hooks. They have there's a couple other videos in there. I think this is,
There's 3 more.
yeah. So I mentioned this one to the kids of her washing her hair.
Yeah.
And we got brushing his teeth as one right before that.
Right. Oh, did I skip over
Well,
it?
we can do the hair washing too.
Yeah. But the water actually does stick to her hair. So, the surface tension sticks to it. But once it disconnects, it goes all over the place. So they literally just kind of squirt the water. There it goes, yeah. Just catching the...
I would not have long hair in space.
Yeah, you would think. Although then you get to do stuff like this and be the person that's flying around with their hair all over the place.
Yeah, but somebody else gets hit by a water drop.
But that's exactly what you were talking about.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's exactly what you're talking about, is the water just kind of goes flying all over the place and they get recycled up into their climate control system.
And she uses no rinse shampoo,
Mm-hmm.
so that she rinses it a little bit.
Yeah.
Towels it out.
Yeah, I may not be the most qualified person to talk about it, but the idea that the water droplets and the water molecules still act and behave the same way. Like it can,
They
stick
beat
to
it
the
up.
towel and all that stuff, but it's just a little bit more free form flying around.
Oh, she has so much hair, she squirts it in the middle, then, since water's polar, it might just, adhere to the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's positive, negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she brushes the hair, she's charging it up, and then water's in
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah. But it's definitely something that you have to practice a few times.
Yeah. I certainly, if it was my first trip, I would probably trim my hair just a little bit, make it easier.
Well, from a shampooing point of view, I've heard you only really need to, wash your scalp anyway, because, the rest of the hair, I don't think it's very dusty there. Or,
You did a pretty good job of keeping it nice and clean. I think is that the...
Yeah, one right about that is the toothbrush.
That's what, that's Chris Hadfield.
Maybe some social media superstar.
Very popular. I think he's the guy that had the issue with the water droplets in his eye. This is him talking about brushing his teeth. And this is another good example. The water sticks to his toothbrush once he puts the water on it.
You don't need, you can get more stuff situated and, it's like you have 4 or 5 grams.
Yeah.
What is that?
And he swallows the toothpaste.
Oh,
Yeah.
where's the 6 bag?
Yeah. The last time we did this, the kids couldn't handle the fact that they swallowed the toothpaste. They thought that was the grossest thing they'd ever heard. But if where else would you put it? You don't spit it out. There's just more stuff you got to deal with.
Because he puts water in his mouth at the end and cleans his toothbrush in his mouth and
Yeah,
swallows
yeah.
It's probably special toothpaste that you can swallow.
It's edible.
Because again, the actual act of brushing, the mechanical part, that's what's mostly clean their teeth.
Yeah, I think most toothpaste you can in small amounts. You're okay with.
Brand, what's the brand?
I think you even mentioned that. It's like, it's just toothpaste. It won't hurt you. You just kind of let it go. Grabs it again.
He says the amount of time it takes you to sing happy birthday is how long you should brush your teeth.
Yeah.
He's very concerned about the shorter one.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Is it coming along?
They kind of speed it up. And there's I think it's the flight of the bumblebee.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Very thorough.
Well, if the audio doesn't come up, they have our narration.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. Oops.
It's all-
It's a toothpaste.
Yeah. Where else would it go? I think the last one is just the most interesting one, which is the bathroom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's always everybody's favorite.
My son, he loves to watch these videos where people play games and they just talk to it and comment on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he watches that nonstop. They play Uno and then just make comments.
Yeah, my son does. He plays Xbox and he's in a room with a couple people talking all the time.
Awesome. You might see the
They're
little,
not going to pick up.
let us notice the little moon on the outside. This is our orbital hourglass right here.
there were two functions. Number 2, right here. I'll show you. But you see it's pretty small, so you have to have pretty good aim, and you be ready to make sure things get let go the right direction. And it smells a little bit, so I'm closing it up. And that's, of course, for number 2. And this guy right here is for number 1. So they're sort of two slightly separate functions, but you can do a little, essentially both by hanging on right here and doing number 1 and number 2. I might add it's color-coded so you really don't get it mixed up, which is nice. This is yellow for number 1. And also, there's a selection of paper. People always ask about toilet paper. What do you do with toilet paper? What kind of toilet paper do you have? We have gloves just because sometimes it does get messy. We have some Russian wipes, which are a little bit coarse if you like the coarse type of toilet paper. We have the nice tissues, which are nice and soft if you like soft toilet paper. We have Huggies, just for any cleanup. You know, we're all babies once, and this sort of helps. And then if things get really out of control, we have disinfectant wipes just to make sure we clean up here. Because, you know, just like the water I showed you, the number 1 stuff can sort of go all over the place if you don't aim correctly. And did I mention both of these have a little bit of suction, so they should keep things going in the right direction. But, like I said, sometimes things get a little out of control if you are out of control yourself flying around. So we have lots of protective stuff. And, of course, you do have your privacy. There's a little door.
That would just be visual.
Yeah.
I think that was the collection there. Pretty cool. All right.
So when I transferred it over to PowerPoint, it was full length. So when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's 28.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah.
Okay.
You're going to stop the recording?